Hello, my name is Kelly Meister and I'm a forensic nurse. Let me start off by asking you the following question. When you hear the phrase weapons of war, what images come to your mind? Rifles, tanks, rockets, poisonous gas, maybe nuclear weapons? What about rape? Not a term usually synonymous with weapons of war, yet its use has been employed throughout the world for centuries. This particular weapon is being employed to terrorize women and children, split family units, extinguish villages, and in most recent decades, deliberately attempting to change the ethnic makeup of the next generation. Let me tell you the story of a young Congolese woman named Madeline. Madeline's village was attacked by rebel soldiers, and she and her sister fled to a nearby town named Goma, about 20 kilometers away. Unfortunately, Madeline and her sister were not able to make ends meet in this town, so Madeline traveled the 20 kilometers back to her village to collect vegetables from the family garden. On her return to her sister in Goma, Madeline was attacked and raped by rebels multiple times over several hours, and then just discarded on the side of the road. When she awoke, she started back to Goma to see her sister without the vegetables, as they had been taken by the rebel soldiers. Outside of Goma, Madeline was attacked again, but this time by Congolese soldiers. Can you imagine being 15 years old, raped multiple times over several hours in one day, just trying to scavenge for food to survive? Unfortunately, this is a daily occurrence in conflict areas, in conflict-torn areas like the Congo and in Africa. Or what about Georgette? Georgette and her family, they were asleep in their beds one night when Rwandan rebels broke into her home, murdered her husband and children, poured boiling water all over Georgette's body, slashed her body with knives, and then repeatedly raped her for hours. 2 days later, Georgette awoke, surrounded by the corpses of her husband and children. These despicable acts, they need to end. Rape as a weapon of war is a way of demonstrating power and control. It inflicts fear on the whole community, and unfortunately, it is a very effective, cheap, and silent weapon with long-lasting effects on every society. During the 90-day Rwandan genocide, it is estimated that 250,000 women were raped. In Sierra Leone, that same time period, 60,000 women were raped. In Liberia in the 90s, 40,000 women. And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, to date, over 1.1 million women and children have been raped during conflict. A recent study in the Democratic Republic of Congo focused on the survivors of war-related rape, and this study revealed that not one woman reported being raped by just one combatant. Every woman in the study had been raped by multiple attackers. 32% of these women were attacked by 2 to 4 men, 18% by 5 to 10 men, 14% were attacked by 11 to 20, and the majority of the women in this survey, or this study, 36%, were attacked by 20 combatants in one setting. The use of rape as a weapon of war is a complex issue, and as such, it's going to take a multifaceted approach to combat and discontinue its use. For centuries, participants on both sides of battle have accepted the use of rape as a weapon of war as unavoidable. During World War II, all sides of the conflict were accused of mass rapes, yet none of the courts set up by the victors recognized the crime of sexual violence. Although the world community has known about the atrocious use of rape as a weapon of war, it was not until the early 1990s that the Criminal Tribunal in Rwanda actually recognized and declared rape to be a war crime and a crime against humanity. The United Nations has charged the world community to work towards putting an end to this despicable practice. What can we do to answer the UN's charge? Why should we even care? There are humanitarians hard at work in Africa trying to take care of the medical needs for these women and children who are survivors of this war-related rape. Not only does violence possess threats against health workers and facilities providing this care, and it impedes the care of millions of people from getting the health care that they deserve. And when these services are denied in a war-torn or in a conflict setting, these are crimes against humanity. Targeted attacks on health undermine and sometimes destroy health systems and infrastructure, forcing health workers to flee from the areas where they are needed the most. Over the past several years, there has been increasing recognition that attacks and interference on healthcare violate the right and health. And when they occur during armed conflict, they violate international law. However, impunity, where no one is being held accountable, is often the norm. I don't want this to be the norm. Do you? Aung San Suu Kyi, Nobel Peace Laureate and democracy leader in Burma, describes war-related rape in her country as a weapon against those who only want to live in peace, who only want to assert their basic human rights. It is used as a weapon by armed forces to intimidate the ethnic nationalities and to divide her country. We must do everything we can to put an end to this. Violence starts in the mind, so we need to start by changing the minds of men and women worldwide. Why do I care? I have worked with hundreds of survivors of rape. I work to help them start the healing process, and I help them to seek justice through the collection of evidence. I also have 3 daughters. 2 of them are planning to go to Africa. One is heading off to Africa after college graduation with the Peace Corps. The other is called to the mission field. I do not want them to fall victim to attacks like those experienced by Madeline and Georgette while they are trying to better the world. Why should you care? The greatest predictor of a nation's stability, wealth, and safety is the status of the women in that nation. War-related rape does not just occur in Africa. It occurs wherever there is conflict. In Guatemala, over 60,000 women between the ages of 10 and 19 were raped in 2014, forcing many of these women and children to flee to the United States for safety. In many parts of Africa, HIV-infected rebels are purposely raping women in efforts to decrease their enemy's population. The loss of healthcare providers and infrastructure in these conflict areas can decrease the capacity of those nations to provide for the medical needs of the survivors of war-related rape. But additionally, it also decreases the ability of these nations to contain highly infectious diseases, such as Ebola. What can we do? To stop sexual violence, I believe in empowering women. Often men have the mindset that they are the stronger ones, and women are weak. However, having power physically, mentally, and economically is very important for women worldwide. I want to see more communities put their words into action. I want to see them allocate their resources to the survivors of sexual violence. This means to not just pass resolutions, but also to provide practical and concrete support. Sometimes the international community is so busy passing resolutions, while the women on the ground experiencing these atrocities are suffering without access to the resources that are so vitally needed. Rape in war is a sign of a problem that is systematic and widespread. Until the day that a woman can have social value that is greater and deeper than just sexual or procreative, until a woman is more than simple property, until women are fully represented in all places where power is divvied up, then rape will always be a problem. And rape will always be a problem in more places than just the Democratic Republic of Congo or Africa for that matter. It may not be possible to completely eradicate rape as a weapon of war, as these crimes are often done behind closed doors and their victims are very scared to come forth and confront their perpetrators. But it is possible to raise the collective conscious and be their voice. This heinous crime against women and humanity, unfortunately, largely goes unpunished. If we as a civilization cannot stop war altogether and put an end to violence, the very least we can do is seek global justice for the countless victims who endure this victimization, brutality, and dehumanization. I will end with the words of Shirin Ebadi, Nobel Peace Laureate from Iran. We have to be a loud and clear voice for those whose voices cannot be heard. Under international law, rape is a crime against humanity, and it is our duty to work to bring impunity for such crimes to an end. Now when you hear the phrase, weapons of war, never forget that rape is a weapon of choice in Africa, destroying individual lives and countless communities. Join with Shirin Ebadi and many of the others who are fighting to end this despicable practice. Thank you.